This audio fanfic is rated T, which is the same as a movie rating of PG-13. Parental guidance recommended for all children under 13. This should be suitable for teenagers and adults. For more information on what the ratings mean, please go to www.esrb.com.
Fractal Power's spirit reeled at the riot of horrifying images that struck its mind as its bioship Cause and Effect dropped into solid vacuum space. Its well-trained mind and body maintained control, however. Competently and swiftly, Fractal Power implemented the actions needed to deal with this unexpected emergency.
QuantumVariance, prepare to disrupt their warp field,
Fractal Power directed. It took an effort to force that simple message to appear in front of the images in the terrified sending, so that QuantumVariance would be able to understand the vital instructions. Technically, one pilot had no authority over another, but Fractal Power had more experience in dealing with the Hirogen hunters, and it was only natural to assume command.
I understand,
QuantumVariance replied with equally determined force. The thought came with clear images of grief, horror, and rage that matched the current appearance of Fractal Power's own mind perfectly. Quickly scanning the Hirogen ships to pinpoint the one that held the prisoner, Fractal Power sent a thought at the same time to the mind that was projecting the blinding visions of terror.
We will help you. Stay strong.
A wave of bright relief swept through the other's thoughts, alongside the continuing panic.
Hurry, he is ready to make me his trophy.
With a sudden feeling of shock, Fractal Power realized that this person must be RippleHarmonics, the pilot who had been lost months earlier in this alien space. It was the only logical answer. RippleHarmonics tried to keep its eyes as narrowed as possible in order to hide as much pain as it could from the Hirogen hunter. The sudden arrival of the two bioship pilots was nothing but a miracle, but it seemed almost too late. His eyes glittering with cold enjoyment, the murderous hunter began to inflict a long, deep cut across the left side of RippleHarmonics' back. The stranded pilot's already wounded body jerked suddenly at the sharp new pain. For a split second, Fractal Power's mind was bombarded with images of a cruel, savage attack along with the sensation of terrible, cutting pain. Then a shifting, opaque blur of white appeared in front of the images, nearly hiding them.
RippleHarmonics is trying to shield us from the full horror of what it is feeling,
the pilot realized. The knowledge made Fractal Power's hands fly even faster across the console's webbing. Within seconds it had completed the necessary modifications for the rescue.
Now!
Fractal Power commanded. At once, QuantumVariance's bioship released an energy pulse that shattered the warp bubble around the Hirogen ships and forced them back into the physical part of solid vacuum space. A feeling of rocking turbulence came from RippleHarmonics' mind, and an abrupt lessening of its pain. There was a crystal-clear image of its Hirogen tormentor being flung back across the room, a vicious curved blade flying out of his hand. Before the savage alien could recover and attack again, Fractal Power finished inputting its commands to Cause and Effect's propulsion system. Power rippled outward from the bioship, arrowing towards the very spot where RippleHarmonics was imprisoned.
What is happening?
RippleHarmonics felt the familiar warm glow of a quantum singularity, more intense than usual because there was no bioship surrounding its body to soften the effect. The feeling was not painful, merely extraordinarily vivid. RippleHarmonics' body tingled as the singularity formed completely. With a feeling of triumph, the weary, still tightly bound pilot saw the enraged Hirogen shimmer and disappear. QuantumVariance wasted no time in piloting Swift Dash up to within inches of where RippleHarmonics drifted helplessly in the soft currents of patterns of light space. Despite the joy of having found and rescued the missing pilot, the sight was horrifying. RippleHarmonics' body was wrapped all about with some kind of dark, evil-looking netting. Its arms were pinned behind its back. One arm must be broken in at least 2 places to be twisted back that far, and its 3 legs were crushed viciously up beneath its body. Far too many old and new wounds could be seen, including the deep, dry gash along RippleHarmonics' left side from the torment that the Hirogen had inflicted moments earlier. QuantumVariance physically felt it when Swift Dash's soft, smooth hull brushed up against RippleHarmonics' floating body, its eyes shining with the same look of compassion that was universal to all living species that had eyes at all, and its face softening with relief. QuantumVariance instructed its bioship to open a doorway and admit RippleHarmonics to the inside. No thoughts had passed between any of the 3 people of light since they returned to their own space, But now QuantumVariance spoke.
Welcome aboard.
RippleHarmonics looked up with absolute dignity from its undignified position in a netted heap on the floor.
Thank you for rescuing me.
It sent to both of the other pilots, as QuantumVariance picked up a small handheld energy weapon and crouched down to examine the material that bound the rescued prisoner.
My family will be grateful as well.
It was my joy, Fractal Power replied from the other bioship, the thought visible to both RippleHarmonics and QuantumVariance. Then the colors and patterns of its thoughts turned professional. I must report to my grandparent Fractal Infinity. It will need to know about this, as it is soon to take on the role of groundskeeper Boothby in one of the Starfleet simulation biospheres. RippleHarmonics, please contact me when you have recovered. I expect Fractal Infinity and the other high leaders will want to know details of the time since you were lost. The sleek bioship Cause and Effect turned and flew shimmering away through the ever-shifting colors of patterns of light's fluid space. Meanwhile, QuantumVariance was starting to cut through the Hirogen netting with its energy weapon. Soon RippleHarmonics was free, the cruel bonds lying useless and ruined on the floor around it. The wounded pilot stood up, strong and steady in spite of its many injuries. QuantumVariance took a step forward, reached out to take hold of both of RippleHarmonics' hands, and rested its forehead against the other pilot's. It was the people of Light's very deepest physical gesture of affection between friends or comrades. Somehow, though they had never met, it seemed fitting. Nothing else could express the personal joy that QuantumVariance felt at RippleHarmonics' safety.
Welcome home, RippleHarmonics. Welcome back to Patterns of Light.
Author's note. All the nifty things I didn't already know about Species 8472 and their bioships I learned from the awesome Star Trek fan wiki website called Memory Alpha. It is the most incredible database of information I have ever found for any setting. There's a link to their article about the 8472 on this fanfics page on the Audio Fanfiction Library website. If you're interested, go check out the link. You can easily get to the rest of Memory Alpha from there, too.